My 18-year-old sister dropped out of high school and ran away to Canada to be with her 26-year-old BF she met on WoW. What other fricked up family stories do you have? Reddit. Dating a girl. My mom meets her father, has an affair with him and got caught. Divorces on both sides. Mom marries her dad. I'm left dating my sister. My 18-year-old cousin invited a guy over to her house from another state. That guy brought his whole desktop over too. She kept him a secret from her parents by hiding him in her room with door closed and locked while she was away. She would bring food up to him when her parents went to sleep. Happened for a whole month. Until one day her mom used a key to unlock her room and found him. She called the cops on him, and the cops couldn't really do anything because he was invited into the house, so not trespassing. And they were both over 18, so fricking was okay. But the cops did take him away to a nearby hotel though. Now my cousin's room has no doorknob. My old boss moved to the other side of the world to be with a guy she met on WoW only to find he was married with children. It didn't work out, but relevant to the ups question. My twin aunts are now dating and living with each other's ex-husbands and children. So Aunt 1 is now dating living with Aunt 2's ex-husband and children that she had with him and vice versa. They're not raising each other's kids, they all know who their mums are. They're all teenagers. It's just the living situation. Not too fricked up, just a bit odd. Till WoW is actually a dating website. Cousin, 18, slept with his brothers, 32, wife while he was at work. They bailed him out of jail and gave him a place to live while he got back on his feet. Kicker, they have 2 kids. Why was he in jail? Had a great uncle who had a tumor the size of a tennis ball behind his eye. Won't let the doctors take it out because he was afraid they'd take his intelligence. Had a family, kids. One day he spray paints a racing stripe around the house. Spray paints the toilet gold, the fridge red. Wife and kids leave. So begins his new life. Long haul trucking, making ludicrous purchases, spray painting everything he owned. Brand new Cadillac, for instance, painted the whole thing orange. I mean wheels, windows, tires, the whole car. Razored out little rectangles in the windshield so he could see out of it. Took out the seats, filled it with chicken feathers. He had a bread truck he painted pink. Had 2 RVs and a trailer. Mottled brown, octarine and Lovercraft's color out of space were their respective colors. Banned from every McDonald's in a 150-mile radius for drunken, abusive, disorderly conduct, indecent exposure, etc. He seemed to have trouble distinguishing men's and women's shirts. One day he put on 2 women's wigs at the same time and hung out in the park, so he could pick up dykes. One day in a public altercation, he removed his belt to use it as a weapon, after which his pants fell down. Died of a heart attack. Sic transit gloria. Oh, and my grandfather lost his hand in a wood chipper when he was 90. Oh, and my grandmother is a compulsive hoarder. Sounds like the beginning of a great screenplay. If they get married, he can sponsor her as a permanent resident. After 1,100-ish days as a PR, she can apply for citizenship. Or, you could call sick with her address, out her as overstaying her visa, get her on a removal order and barred from re-entering Canada for the rest of her life as a violator of immigration law. My parents allowed my sociopathic, drug-addicted brother to beat the crap out of me because it was better for him to be at home than out on the streets. He shattered my nose, one among many other injuries, and I wasn't allowed to go to the hospital because he was out on bail and if it was reported would go back to jail. I slept with a butcher's knife under my bed and kept my bedroom window open for years even in the winter, so I would have an escape route in case he tried to kill me again. We also had guns in the house and my father wouldn't get rid of them because it was his right to bear arms. I slept in my car a lot and did all my homework in my car in the movie theater parking lot. I managed to graduate 13/275 in my high school class and no one freaking knew what was going on. Not even my friends. I played the game until I graduated with my bachelor's degree, which they guiltily paid for, and moved to another freaking continent. I learned they were more concerned with what other people would think than my actual survival. So many stories about family murders. I could have easily been one of the statistics. I haven't seen them in 10 years or spoken to them in about 3. Before I cut them out of my life, I gave them the option to man up to what happened as it was the only way I would even contemplate some sort of relationship. They accused me of making it all up and that I should take responsibility for my actions, and if this family goes down, you're coming down with us. Needless to say, they are freaking gone from my life. FWIW. I'm about to finish my PhD. So my adopted brother is a sociopath. He started smoking weed when he was 7, and by the time he was in high school he was doing C. When my mom found out he was shipped to boarding school. My mom went with him to drop him off. They stayed at a friend's loft. My mom wakes up to find him molesting her. She grabs his hand. He freezes. The only thing he says is "oh crap." Lies about it later. Skip 3 years. He's enrolled in the Marines. His girlfriend finds out that he cheated on her. Breaks up with him. He flips crap. Breaks into their house after receiving a restraining order, and when our close family goes to him, my brother threatens to kill him. Skip to the next year and he's back with that girlfriend he cheated on. Cheats on her again. They break up again. Then they are back together. Christmas night. They go to her parents' house uninvited. He stays the night, downloads and watches P on father's TV. Gets caught. Lies. Last month. Get a call from my grandma. He and his ex got married. They didn't tell anyone. The only reason we found out was because we got a call from the state prison saying that he's in jail for domestic abuse. His wife later said that she only called the cops because she was angry that he was texting a girl and knew that he wouldn't get arrested over that. I skipped a lot of details, but yeah, it's pretty fricked. And that's just my brother. Your crazy brother married a crazy bee. The craziest staying in the family. One of my uncles is a cult leader. More details, please. My uncle killed his best friend and got off on a technicality. My aunt was apparently cheating on him with his best friend, and she thought my uncle was going to find out. So she fed him all these lies about how his best friend had violated her and physically shamed their children. My uncle went to his house with a gun and shot his best friend in the chest. I was only about 10 at the time, but I remember hearing my father wailing on the phone to my uncle that night and my sister and I wondering what was going on. They told us the next morning and demanded we never tell anyone. I kept it a secret for a long time, but since he's gotten out of jail, he was in there for 5 years while the trial was going on, and he probably would have gotten out anyway because he's dying. I've told a bunch of people. My cousins really got the crappy end of the bargain because they had to hear all of this stuff about their parents' marriage that they never should have known. Whoa, your aunt is terrible. That is all. My father and his 2 brothers beat the ever-living crap out of their sister's husband once. No one in our family knows why, save the men involved. One of his brothers is dead now, so the secret was brought to the grave. They're very docile, reasonable men, and such an act is completely out of their nature. When that happened on Roseanne, it was because Booker hit Jackie. I moved in with my fiance and his folks a year ago. My mom was P and said, what kind of parent would let her son's girlfriend move in with them? It is so immoral. Literally a week later, my brother's underage girlfriend moved into my room. WTF. Your mom just didn't want to see you go. My younger sister is banned from Disneyland Paris for life. She was caught trying to shoplift some items from a store while visiting France with our high school's French club. They wanted to have her arrested and thrown in jail, so she had to get the American embassy involved. My parents kept this from the rest of the family. I didn't find out until I started working for Disney. I feel so normal all of a sudden. The weirdest thing that happened in my family was when my sister named her Tuma. My sister married a guy she had known for a month, who was twice as old as her. He spends all their money on alcohol and cigarettes, even though they have maxed out 2 or 3 credit cards. He got mad at her for not agreeing to a 3-way, then cheated on her, and gave her an STD. He's pretty much an all-around douchebag, and my sister isn't on speaking terms with my parents because they keep reminding her of this. For some reason they have been married for 6 years. On the plus side, at least he is no longer twice her age anymore. Sister had her gangbanger friends ransack our house while we were at Six Flags. Came back to find that my prized Ibanez art or guitar, Nintendo, DVD player collection, television, and computer were all gone. She was doing M at the time, probably still is, and this was just one of the events that fricked up my childhood. She also offered me speed while I was buying a Rockstar from a vending machine at a rest stop on a family road trip under the guise of "this will really wake you up." I didn't talk to her the whole trip back. There are times when we eat dinner in the living room. I always eat dinner in the living room. Sometimes I go a step further and eat it in my bedroom. Canada immigration is actually very nasty about people like this. If you are desperate to get her back, you report the details to Canada immigration and they will start a deportation case against her. That's what I was thinking. Report her as an illegal alien and they'll take care of it and deport her. Being Canadian, I don't want her in my country if she hasn't come through the legal channels. GTFOB. When I was around 12, I was home alone with my older brother, 16, and my little sister, 9. Now, I haven't quite been able to piece together the entire story, but here's the stuff I do know. My brother got into drugs at a very young age and was doing H by the time he was 15. But of course he was popular as heck with the ladies, bad boy image and whatnot. So one night me and my siblings were home alone. My brother had a huge argument with his girlfriend and decided that the best way to relieve some stress would be to light fire to his bed and run off to score some H. So I wake up at around 3 AM from all the smoke in my room and immediately run to get my sister and get her out of the house. Drop her off at the neighbors asking them to call the fire department. I also realize almost at the exact same time that I hadn't seen my brother, so I run back to check if he's in his room, which was quite ablaze by then, and by the time I see he's not there and have gotten out again, the fire figures were there. So while the firefighters are busy doing their thing, 2 police cars show up along with my mother who'd gotten a lift with them in one of the cars. They wouldn't let her drive because she became hysterical when they told her what was going on, and my brother in the other. He'd been busted trying to buy H. So the police for some reason decides to put my sister in the squad car together with my brother, no idea why, probably to keep tabs on all of us all as easily as possible. But my mother was there crying her heart out. My brother started crying telling me he was sorry and my sister was crying since she had no idea what else to do. So there I am, 12 years old, comforting my entire family at once. My father was working abroad, not crying myself because I figured someone had to keep their crap together in a bad situation. TLDR. Brother torches house with his younger brother and sister in it. Younger brother only one to keep his cool. Dude, if no one said it yet, I will. You're a real hero. Thank you for remaining calm and saving your sister. You are the man. Older sister dropped out of high school at 16 and ran off to live with her 22-year-old boyfriend who beat her and addicted her to M&H. She threw me against a wall, broke my arm. He came nearly 3 years, close to debauching me when I was 13. He went to jail 4 times for theft, assault, and running away for 10 months while on parole. So she sleeps around with any gypsy she can get her labias on. And gypsies here are of Romanian descent, all dress like Guidos, and they're all in the lumber driveway paving business, one of which is a guy who gets her back into H. Then she starts receiving the money from her father's death, because our mom set up an annuity for something like $80,000 from his insurance to help her out, and she blows half of it on a new car, drugs, and an apartment way out of her price range. She's moved in and out of our house so many times, and because of her, I've been in therapy for 5 years. She's 25 now. Whoa, this is creepy. I guess I'll summarize this in the most simplistic way I can think of. I've dealt with depression and low self-esteem during my adolescence, so keep this in mind. But when I was 14 I met a guy 8 years my senior on WoW. He was from Canada too, and I was so lonely at the time I let this guy manipulate me into thinking a relationship with him could work. That lasted over 2 years. Worst 2 years ever. I am still making up for my lack of social development. I would basically stay in my room all day, play WoW. This guy would be around almost 24/7 and work his schedule around what time I went to school. He had no degree, barely graduated high school, and only a part-time job at a grocery store. His entire family was weird too. During this grooming period, my grades suffered horrendously. I had lost whatever friends I had. I was also a shy kid, and if I wasn't crying I was sleeping. Despite all this, I was in denial that he was the major enforcer of my issues. I was in love. My depression got so bad at one point I threatened to my parents. who knew about this the entire time and thought it was a phase, that I wanted to drop out or switch schools or something. There came a point though where I was just becoming aware of the ridiculousness of the situation and excommunicated myself from him around the same time I was actually starting to interact with real people again. I broke it off around the time he was expecting to meet me, and he was mostly just angry that I broke it off when he finally could actually frick me. He wanted to visit me the summer of when I turned 17. I knew that if I did that, there was no turning back and I'd be trapped forever. I was already feeling pretty crappy about my quality of life. I just turned 18 and I feel like I'm still constantly trying to make up for what I missed during a lot of my formative years. Luckily I have some great friends and I got on antidepressants, and my family is pretty supportive of me even though I screwed up my grades terribly. I'm a smart girl, but I was lonely and seeking someone to fill in empty gaps in my life, and I picked the most ridiculous thing imaginable. This hit far too close to home. I'd really like to smack some sense into your sister. We need to get Chris Hansen on WoW to hunt Canadians. Not so much a story or much in the way of fricked up, but my parents think I'm gay because I don't have a girlfriend or much interest in finding one ATM. Solution: tell them you're gay. Then, when you have no boyfriend or interest in getting one, they'll think you're straight. I have a few cousins on my mom's side we never see or hear from. They moved away when we were young and my mom and her brother aren't close, so we all kind of forgot about them until several years ago. We got invitations to a wedding for the cousin a year older than me. All of a sudden, my uncle comes home to visit my grandparents unexpectedly. He hadn't been home in a few years even for the holidays, so we all found it odd. He came home to tell my grandparents that my other cousin, a year younger than me, we'll call her Amy, had a child no one had known about previously. The only reason he told was because Amy was going to tell them at the wedding if they didn't know by then. Surprise. Here are pictures of your 3-year-old great-grandson we didn't tell you about because we were embarrassed and ashamed that Amy got knocked up by a black dude at 15. Dropped out of school, moved to live with the baby daddy's family while he lived with his new girlfriend, and pretty much erased her parents from her life. Heaven forbid everyone know we aren't the Cleavers. It was intense. Up till then we had all believed, as we were told Amy was in college and doing the standard upper class privilege growing up process. My grandparents were happy to have a great grandchild, but we never spoke of the surprise. We just all kind of shifted into pretending we had known about him all along. I hope for the kid's sake he never finds out this happened. My aunt has a master's in mechanical engineering and a 6-figure job, and she steals baby chicken from the farmer's market along with goats, ducks, and turkeys. She's pretty much a crazy cat lady but with farm animals. If you want your sister back, send me 30,000 gold and a Raisenaga. As my 11th grade English teacher said, the phrase dysfunctional family is redundant. She was punished for it by not being able to talk to him for a whole weekend. Your parents are spineless. Agreed. When her dad went to Canada with the sister, he should have dragged her back by the freaking ears and beat the crap out of the douche boyfriend. My dad and my older sister got into a fist fight because he wouldn't fix her car without her paying for it. I come home from school one day and she's standing at the entrance to my neighborhood with a black eye. The police were at my house when I got home, but my dad was in much worse shape. She'd bitten him really bad on the arm and broke skin, as well as scratches all over him. I don't know who to believe, but I'm pretty sure my sister started it. She's a big girl, too. 5 feet 10 and probably about 250 pounds, so she kicked his butt. Drug addict in the family, sold all the Christmas presents under his tree. He has kids, a few days before Christmas. Also sold most of the furniture in the house. His long-term partner and kids were away at work school and he cancelled Christmas for another hit. Also moved in with us to be away from the situation. We live an hour away from the town. My mum then found instructions on making M and got approached in the street asking if she had any of my family members' contact details whilst walking our dog. He had clearly been selling drugs when he was looking like he was being helpful and walking the dog. That was 6 years ago now though. He's been through rehab, married his long-term partner and seems on the straight and narrow. Not without some serious devils in the closet mind. My stepmother is younger than me. I'm 20. My grandmother had always been, not quite right, on all kinds of antidepressants. Went to the shrink regularly her entire adult life. Tried electroshock therapy. Didn't work. Basically incurably depressed and psychotic. The psychologist she had seen for 40 years retires and she goes to a new doctor. He realizes that her previous doctor had her on all these hardcore medications and pulled her off all of them cold turkey. 2 weeks later my grandfather comes out of the bathroom and my grandmother is gone. He finds an entry in her diary talking about how she can't take it anymore and he and the family and neighbors and cops start searching for her. They found her slippers and glasses on the railing on a bridge. She was pretty heavy so I don't see how she could have gotten herself up there to jump off and there was no point of impact in the shallow stream below. We never found her. That was about 8 years ago and I assume that she is dead but. Most depressing story. Mental illness is serious and it saddens me to see people misdiagnosed. When I was around 8 years old my mom started seeing our daycare provider's husband. He left his wife for my mom. He physically shamed my little sister and then beat the crap out of my mom and put her in the hospital. A few weeks later my grandmother got together with him and shortly after they moved to Nevada and got married. He tried to kill my grandmother and my grandfather took her back into his house. Yup, my life. We went from being multimillionaires to bankrupt in less than 5 years. Both of my parents are alcoholics. All of it was spent on lawyers' fees for DUI. 7 total. No jail time. Strip clubs. One receipt I saw was for $35,000. Prostitutes. And booze. Oh. And one jackass stepdad who praised Jesus constantly. Beat our asses. And spent the child support and more money. There was a bank account. On H and his sons. Look at it this way. Your dad probably helped a lot of struggling college girls out. My mom left me twice. Once when I was 3 and my sister was 3 months old. Then she came back when I first got cancer at age 7 years and 4 months. She hung out for 2.5 months. Then bailed again. Then when my grandmother, her mother died, my mom tried to get my cousins, sister and I written out of her will while grandma was on her deathbed. I still talk with her, but I don't trust her with anything. My sister has a traumatic brain injury. She does okay in some regards, but has poor impulse control. She's also morbidly obese. When she was about 20, she was working as a cashier in a low-rent department store. An old guy came through her line a couple of times and sort of chatted her up. He was in his late 70s, divorced twice, and had an arrest record for physical misconduct. One day, as he made his purchases, he proposed to my sister, telling her he was impotent, so their arrangement would mostly be that she moved in and took care of him. She said yes. The next day, they were married during her lunch break. My folks got guardianship, and a couple lawyers later, the marriage was annulled. My stepdad wouldn't let my mom eat sunny side up eggs because he didn't like looking at them. My aunt studied chemical engineering and shortly after graduation found a good job in an international corporation that manufactures hygiene products. In a couple of years came to have a good position and earned very well. Then she met a man in the church, I will only say that it belonged to certain form of Christianity, and married him. She waited another couple of years and then decided to quit her job and go like a missioner to a poor rural area in an isolated mountainous region. The Indians were Catholic fanatics and kidnapped the missionaries. Her husband escaped. My dad had to go to rescue her. The Indians allowed my aunt to use their phone, with the promise that they would not return. My aunt then returned home to my grandparents, only to realize that her husband cheated on her. She filed for divorce. Shortly after, the family learned that the father of her ex-husband had been selling stolen cars and had been arrested. After all this, my aunt could find a good job and is now a single mother. She is a very good mom and happy, but certainly things did not go as originally planned. Sorry for my English. I am Mexican, living in Mexico. I'm the only one in my generation of the family that hasn't been arrested, past the age of 13. I have 2 older stepbrothers who have been to jail for assault drugs, a younger sister who was taken in for assaulting her mother, my only cousin for statutory debauchery, and my very favorite, my older biological brother was arrested for grand theft, lawn gnomes. They should have cut off all internet access and took away her car. The outcome wouldn't have been any worse. She probably would have finished high school then gone to college to get away, then realize in a few years after getting into a real relationship that she was stupid and her parents did the right thing. Correct precautions right here being that supportive for was unnecessary. Cousin, 15, had fricked a boy, ends up getting pregnant. She tells the family she's naming the baby Jeremiah. Everyone, since it's a pretty religious family, thinks she's naming the baby after Jeremiah in the Bible. I did the math, found out the date of conception and realized it was on her birthday. She actually named the baby after the singer of Birthday SX. Your father should take the 26 yo's butt cherry and then go. Now we're even. Uncle was framed for physical shaming. Half-brother's stepdad abused him. Half-brother is mentally physically disabled. No one bothered to tell me my grandfather had cancer until 3 months before he died. I lived at home, and we saw my grandparents at least once a month. My sister, age 19, had a cheating douchebag of a boyfriend. She knew it was dumb, but first love, couldn't shake him, etc, etc. We figured no big deal, she'll grow out of it. No, just no. Turns out she stopped taking her birth control, didn't tell the guy, got pregnant on purpose. She left her monthly fertility calendar on the computer, and when she told the dad, was completely shocked that he didn't want to get married. He's pushing for abortion or adoption. She says that she's going to go the adoption route. Our family supports the decision. Fast forward to when she's about 5 months pregnant. She goes on a church trip. None of my family is particularly religious, but she found Jesus, Mormon Jesus no less, in high school. Comes home, all is well. We ask how the trip went. She says good. It was nice to get away for a week. 3 weeks later, she goes back in order to visit some friends she made there. This sets off some alarm bells with me because she has less than no money, but she says the people up there all pitched in. Okay, whatever. Mormons are cool, right? She comes back a week later with a wedding ring. The friend she was going to visit was a 40-year-old, twice divorced father of 4, and she has known him from the internet for a year or so. So he's going to be flying down in a week and they're driving back to Utah, of course, to live happily ever after in his trailer. That was about 4 years ago. They're still married. It's going okay. My brother decided he was a female in a male's body. Met some chick online, who knows what site, who had decided she was a male in a female's body. He moved across the country to live with her and her family while they figure out how to transgender. This would have been a great modern love story, except my brother is in butthole who beat my sister and my mother. No one has talked to him in years. Good freaking riddance. Loser. Hey, mom died while you were away, you piece of crap. Ugh, sorry to hear that. My brother and his girlfriend, age 17, both took dad's credit card and drove to Florida without telling anyone. They lived in Ontario, Canada, so it was a bit of a drive. They called home when they got there so that nobody panicked. Too late, and eventually came home. A year or so later, they got married, had 5 kids. 3 of those kids have had kids, and I can honestly say they are the most together kids I've ever met. The girlfriend turned wife is a bit quirky and comes across as a bit of a grump, but she's a great grandmother. Don't assume your kids are bad because they occasionally do bad things. Sometimes it's just the impetuosity of youth. My uncle got 3 different girls pregnant pretty much simultaneously while he was still in high school. Since their high school only had about 150 kids in the first place, it was apparently quite the scandal. 2 grew up without much contact with our family and got in touch with him again in their 20s. My parents never bothered to mention this until I finally asked them why it seemed like new cousins kept popping up. I have quite a few anyway, and they're all older than me, so I don't know many of them personally. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.